How's everybody doing today? We made it. It's Sunday. We're at this event. Like, we freaking made it, right? And so I want to add some value to your life today because this is a topic that a lot of people aren't speaking about right now, and it really ties into selling from stage, right? How can you use public speaking as a way to scale your business? Every single one of us here are likely an entrepreneur, right? We're stepping into some kind of CEO, founder, leadership role, and public speaking is an absolutely essential skill for all of us. And it's transferable. So even if you don't get up here and do something like what I'm doing today or what some of the other speakers have done, what you will be able to do is possibly use this in some other area of your business, because can we all agree here today that public speaking is essential? Yes? Can I get a yes? All right. So it's going to be a unique way that we're going to approach this today because I've never done slides from my phone before, but we're going to treat this more workshop style. So I'm going to go out here a little bit. How y'all doing? Good? I just want to connect for just a moment. How y'all doing? It's nice to meet you. Okay. If you were given the opportunity to speak on stage, would you share a story of tragedy and triumph? Would you talk about an idea worth sharing? Or would you talk about how you're showing up in the world and serving as an entrepreneur today? While there is no right or wrong answer to this question, my goal is by the time we're done with this presentation, you have a clear idea as to what it is that you would speak about, what message or stories you would share the next time you get invited to speak on stage. So I would like for everybody to take a moment and close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't worry, I'm not going to stare in your face. Close your eyes, and I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. And let it out through your mouth. And I want you to pretend like you just got invited to speak on the world's largest stage. Thousands of people are going to be there. And yes, you have to go. Your life, your career, and your business, it depends on this exact opportunity. And so you accept the invitation. Now I want you to fast forward to the day of the event. You're standing behind the stage, you're getting mic'd up, and you can feel the adrenaline pumping through your body. The host calls your name. And out of nowhere, you get this incredible sense of calm. You're ready for this. You prepared for this. You put in the reps, you put in the practice. You know exactly why you're here. You are not confused. And so you make your way to the stage, you get front and center, and before you say a word, you connect with your audience through your presence alone, and then you proceed to speak. Open your eyes. So what I've just done is give you a snapshot of what an audience journey looks like when you are asked to be a speaker. It is your job to bring your audience through a journey of transformation, right? We're not given a ton of time on stage. Maybe you're only given 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 45 minutes like the keynote presentation that was given yesterday. It's not a lot of time to drive value. And so your job as a speaker is going to be, how can I drive the maximum amount of value in the time that I'm given? And so if you guys want to open your phones for just a second, again, this is going to be a unique workshop style here. I've just brought you through the first few slides. And we're going to talk about the audience journey. In order for you to take anyone on any kind of journey, you first have to have an understanding as to where they are today, right? Can we agree? Like, how can you meet someone where they are not? We have to meet people where they are. And in order to do that, you're going to need to know three things. The first, you're going to need to know who your target audience is. Who are you talking to? Who is your message for? It's not for everybody. I know we want to help the world, you guys. I know we do, but there is a specific message that you have that is better equipped for a specific audience. Can we agree? Okay, so you're going to need to know who is your target audience. You're also going to need to know what is their desire. Now, a lot of times we're focused so much on other people's pain. This person's in pain, this person's suffering, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're just not yet where they want to be, and they've recognized that there is a gap in their life, and maybe it's not about pain and struggling. Maybe it's just simply, I want to be over there instead of over here, right? What is that desire? Where do they want to go? right? Not everybody's trying to avoid or run away from pain, although that is also a case too, right? Sometimes that is the solution, is to speak to the pain. But I would encourage you to speak to the desire, which would require you to do some maybe additional research to figure out what is it that you're up to? Like, where are you headed? How can I help you get there? And then finally, how can I help you get there? Who are you targeting? What is their desire? And how do you help them achieve the desire? So the next slide would be, let's say you get invited to that event, and there are people in the seats just like here, like we are here today. I don't know where each and every one of you is at, but I have an idea that maybe there's something more that you're seeking. And so my job as the speaker is to encourage you to move to the stage. I want to encourage you to get on stage. And so there's likely going to be some beliefs that you're carrying today that may not be serving you, otherwise you'd be on stage, right? There's going to be maybe a story that needs to be told that you need to refine, get more clear on. There's going to be some things that I have to address while I'm up here before I can give you the desire that you're seeking, which is, how do I get to the stage? I wish I had the slides up here so bad. That's okay, we work with it. Okay, so the audience journey. I like to look at this as climbing a mountain. How many of you have been hiking before? Yeah, okay, so we know the climb is the hardest part, can we agree? You get to the top, this moment of relief, oh my gosh, look, we made it. And then there's zero gravity going downhill, right? We're good, we did the hard thing, we're on the other side, now we're happy. That's kind of how the audience journey feels for the people sitting in the audience, not so much for you as the speaker. The uphill climb will consist of your ability to target and understand the beliefs that your target audience are holding right now. Okay, so let's say somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, the reason why I can't get on stage is X, Y, and Z, or the reason why I haven't been able to achieve the goal that I have so far is because of this. It is your job to know them so well, to be 10 steps ahead, that you can speak to that, speak to the gap that already exists in their life. And in some cases, you get to create the gap. Maybe you don't realize this is an opportunity or a thing that works for you yet. But that's the hardest part, the mindset piece. Otherwise, they would already have the goal. Now, once you get to the top of the mountain, it's that aha moment. It's the epiphany that you've had somewhere along the lines that you can now share with others. This epiphany moment, this moment of everything changed when, right? Everything changed when. And then once you're on the downhill side, this is where the solution comes in. You get to close the gap with your products, your services, your solution, your story, whatever it is that comes through for you, whatever can help somebody, that's where it's inserted. It gives them a sense of relief. There's no use in creating a gap that you can't fill, because that leaves people hanging and that's no fun, right? Now, you will see, I don't even know what number this is on my slides, I'm not gonna be honest, or I'm gonna be honest, 13, page 13. You'll see a straight line that runs beneath the mountain. This is what you're doing as the speaker. You're not confused as to why you're up here. You know what stages you need to bring people through in order to get them to the other side. The audience is the one that's climbing the mountain, because they're the ones that have to make the change that you've already made. You've already been down this path. You already know what it's like to be here. You know how fun it was not, and maybe how fun it was. You've already been there. Now you get to speak to that and take people to the other side where you're at. That's how people meet you where you are, and sometimes they even outgrow you, which is amazing as well. What I've learned in my coaching experience, I've worked with people who are brand new entrepreneurs. They don't even have a business. I've worked with people who are in startup companies. I've worked with people who have been in the industry for 20 plus years. I've worked with people who come to me and they're like, I'm absolutely terrified to speak, help. What do we do? I'm so terrified. I don't have a message. I don't even know what I would talk about if I was asked to get on stage. This is a lot of times I'm running to over here, but I've also worked with people who have been doing this for decades, and they need to advance their skills in their craft. They know they could do better. Maybe they're getting on a TED stage. Maybe they're getting on a stage they've never been on before, and they need to make sure it's as perfect as possible. That's also a thing. And I've worked with everybody in between. And if there's one thing I have learned that prevents most people from getting on stage, it's not always the opportunity, right? It's not always, can I get to the stage? It's, what do I do when I get the invitation? How do I make sure that I maximize this opportunity as much as possible so when I get on stage, I'm ready? That sense of calm I was telling you about, that's a real thing for you. And what I've discovered is the gap between where you are right now, if you're not already speaking, and where you want to be, if it's the stage, is your signature talk. It's the talk that speaks to you, your life, your story, how you're showing up today, whatever brought you here, whatever that is for you, and it's different for everybody. Every single speaker is so different, nobody's the same. And I get asked all the time, how can I be more persuasive? How can I be more engaging? How can I captivate my audience? It's through story. Story is the key. Your ability to tell a really good story, and most importantly, a relevant story. Because sometimes we get up here and we tell stories and you're like, well, where is that coming from? That doesn't even make sense. Why are you telling me this story? Kind of like what was gonna happen with you a second ago, right? Where you had to kind of improvise in order to make sure it aligns with the theme and it really speaks to who's here. That kind of thing has to happen sometimes, and you don't always know until you're in the situation. Regardless, it needs to be relevant. Now, story. This quote came to me and I was like, this is really interesting. When we hear a story, our brains release oxytocin, right? It's the chemical that builds trust and connection, and we all know as women what oxytocin is. It's the bonding hormone. But most importantly, story has the ability to captivate the imagination, and that is a universal language that we all understand. We all understand a good story. Let me ask you this. The last time somebody told a good story, or maybe think of somebody that tells really great stories, what happens when they start going into the story? What do you notice? People start leaning in. They want to hear more. They want to know, where are you about to take me? That's the power of story. And so, I've created the Story Impact Framework. And this has captured the 4 core stories that top speakers today are using when they're giving keynote presentations, when they're invited to speak on a variety of stages around the world. And while you won't be able to use all 4 stories for all talks, because if you think about it, if you're given 10 minutes and you're trying to tell 4 stories, that's not gonna roll over too well, right? But if you're given 45 minutes and you're asked to be a keynote speaker, then you're probably gonna wanna use these stories or figure out a way to integrate them into your existing talk. This is the foundation that makes everything so much easier for you. This is a secret sauce, a secret ingredient, whatever you want to call it. And without stories, you really don't have much, I'll be honest with you. I could sit here and deliver a ton of practical, logical information and deliver facts, data, stats, all that good stuff. It's going to kill the vibe. You're going to be on your phones. You're going to be distracted. You're not going to listen to me. I've watched it happen. I work with dentists, I work with subject matter experts, highly technical people that come to me and they say, I need help, I suck. I suck, I lose the attention of the audience. People are not paying attention. They're getting on their phones. Nobody's buying my product or service. Nobody wants to work with me. These are the things that I get to hear. And so the key is story. Now, we're gonna go over the 4 stories. These are 4 stories. We'll do an overview first, and then I'll go into each one individually, because you're probably already familiar with this. You just don't realize how it's currently being used today. The first is the origin story. The second is the vehicle story. Third is the internal belief story. And fourth is the external belief story. The origin story. This is the story that got you to where you are today. So I want you to think back to a point in time, go down your timeline, and think back, when I graduated college, or that one time when I was 8 years old, or back in 2017. Take us back to a place in time and tell us what it looked like at that time for you. Paint the picture, set the scene. Tell us, what are some things that you were running into at that time? What is it that you wanted? Because oftentimes your desire is going to tie directly into the desire of your audience. It's all going to match and it's all going to make sense here in a little bit. Go back to that place in time. And then I want you to talk about what were some of the conflicts that you ran into, the problems, the challenges, the adversity, the inevitables of life, right? Speak to that. And then all of a sudden you're gonna have this aha moment. What was that for you? What changed for you? And maybe something's coming through right now. I don't know, we're gonna see. But I want you to go back to that time, bring us along that journey, and then on the other side of the epiphany, it brought you to where you are today, the results. The transformation has taken effect, and here you are today, which will then lead into your vehicle story. This is like your brand story, right? If we all have a business today, this is your brand story. Why do you do what you do? It usually comes from the origin story. Make sense? Okay, it's pretty straightforward, this one, because it's like you're probably telling the story all the time, right? This is the burnt out story, in my opinion. This is one where like, every networking event, you're telling the same story. And there's a way to expand on that and make it sound a lot better from stage, I'll be honest with you, right? But I just want to touch on what the stories are. The next story, these are so important, the next 2 I'm going to get into, because this is where you can use client testimonials. This is where you can leverage your own. I would recommend client testimonials, case studies, right? And that's the internal belief story. So I would like for somebody in the audience, it can be you or whoever else, who here has a fear of public speaking? Okay. I saw your hand first. I'm going to ask you 2 questions with your permission. Is that okay? What are you actually afraid of?
That everybody looking at me.
Why?
I have no idea. It's just nerve-wracking. I lose chain of thought. Like if I'm prepared to speak, whatever I was preparing for goes out the window. Like,
Okay.
So I get stuck.
So as a public speaking coach, something that I would say to you, even if I knew you were there or didn't know you were there, it's my ability to say, now you're probably thinking, I don't want everybody staring at me. I'm shy. I'm really shy. Like, I just don't see how I could get up on stage and have the confidence necessary. That's what I would do as a speaker. I would speak to the belief that you have going on inside of you that's preventing you from getting on stage. And it's my job to get you to the other side of that. Because just because you carry those beliefs doesn't mean you can't do it, right? Because we've all had that before at some point. Every speaker has gone through that same exact journey. And so I would be able to speak to that inside of you. Like, you don't like people, watching you, staring at you, but that's precisely what this is, right? Like, everybody's staring at me right now, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Even the keynote speaker yesterday, she's like, I'm an introvert. I want to go home and sit in a corner in my cozy pajamas, right? But instead, she's getting up here and doing what she's got to do as an entrepreneur. She knows this is what she has to do because this is where you're going to get the visibility, is up here. I could go off and have one-on-one calls, one-on-one sales calls, right? One person. Or I could attend an event like this where now it's like I'm having one sales call, but it's like with all of you at once. That's how you scale with public speaking. Because I'm also an introvert, and I've also been there before. I would rather just close the door, put on my pajamas, and not talk to anyone. But that's not going to get us very far. The other story that we want to make sure we have locked in is the external belief story. And this is really important because it's the stuff that's happening out here that you're thinking or that your audience would be thinking is controlling their circumstances to the point where they still cannot achieve the goal. So they're like time, money, resources. That's kind of how I have an itch. That's kind of how I want you to think. Time, money, resources. So when somebody's like, I'm sorry, I just don't have the time. I have 30 seconds to myself every freaking week. There's no way I could include public speaking in my schedule. I would say that's really interesting. 30 seconds, huh? And obviously this could be a priority issue. Maybe you don't see the importance in this yet. Maybe you're pouring all of your efforts, energy, and attention somewhere else that's not actually getting you the return that you're looking for. But if you did this and you practiced this skill and you understood the ROI that comes from this, you would probably change your priorities quite a bit. You would say maybe my 30 seconds could go to 1 or 2 hours per month to get the training I need to get on stage, right? You would do something with that time. Or I've got the person in it, who knows sales? Anybody good at sales? Okay, we got some sales. Okay, good. I mean, you have to have sales. You guys, why aren't you raising your hands? Wait a second, wait. I want to see, I don't even care if you're good at sales, just raise your hand. Who's an entrepreneur? Keep your hand up. Stop it. Only like 3 people raised their hand when I asked about sales. Lord, it's okay, we're gonna get you there. Okay, so let's talk about it. If somebody came to you and they had a price objection, I'm sorry, I can't work with you because it's just cost too much. I don't have the money. It's something out here that's happening. In sales, what do we do? What do you say? Correct, we are overcoming objection, but like, how do you overcome the price objection?
Build value. What's the cost?
Huh?
I'm not good at sales.
Yes, that's a great one. Okay, these are good. These are really, really good. Go ahead.
Actually, like, build value for what you're selling, and you make it seem like it's worth it, then they can use it like environment.
You gotta be careful with that because then sometimes you're gonna step into like prove, and that's not how you sell either. So, but yes, but carefully. Ask more questions.
I downsell. So I have the offer, I have a downsell, and
Girls, what in the hell? Is that what you said too? Is that what you said too? I thought you raised your hand, I'm sorry. Okay, when we have a price objection, we isolate the objection and we ask them if price was not an issue, then what? Would you still want to do this? And then you can come up with a payment plan or some alternative option, but it's not about discounting your price. It's not about changing your value. It's not about over-explaining anything, because if the person wants it, they're gonna do what they have to do to pay for it, like period, point blank. And then if you have a service that's gonna help them make more money, then it's just a matter of time before you make more money on this investment, right? Okay, all right. Y'all had me scared for a second. I was like, wait a second, we got a bunch of entrepreneurs in here, but we're not selling. We're talking about sales. All right, I'm gonna put this down for a second because I wanna tell you guys a story. All right, it's a story about a young girl who was raised in an orphanage, okay? Her mother passed away at a very young age, and she ended up having an upbringing. Her entire childhood was in an orphanage. And she made a best friend inside of this orphanage. And it was one day where they came across this picture of the Grand Opera House, it's ballet in Paris. I'm gonna see if anybody's if they know where the storyline comes from. I'm gonna test the audience in a minute. But she comes across this picture, they do together, and she realizes in this moment, I have a passion. I wanna be a ballerina. Now, as you can imagine, in an orphanage, she doesn't have the money, she doesn't have the resources, and she definitely doesn't have the support to get to Paris. And so one night, her and her best friend, they sneak out of the orphanage and they sneak onto a train and they make their way to Paris. Now, as they approach the Paris Opera House, they split ways. She walks inside and she's immediately getting kicked out. They could tell she did not belong there. It was a janitor. He was like, ma'am, you can't be here, you have to go, get out. But luckily, there was this really nice lady in there who used to practice ballet, and because she was injured, now she's just helping to maintain the property. And so she's like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And she was really nice about it. Well, that night, the lady's going home and the orphan girl follows her home. And the lady stops her and says, why are you following me? And she's like, I will help you clean if you can teach me ballet. And so they made an agreement. So for the following days, she would go in and she would help her clean, and she would learn ballet in little bits by bits, right? And she was awful, zero experience. And that's where most of us start, right? Like zero experience. We all kind of suck in the beginning, and that's okay. But as she was practicing, she would sneak into the rooms and she would watch the other ballerinas dance. And it was one day she goes in and she sees this ballerina and she's perfect. Everything about what she's doing is just absolutely perfect. She knows everything. You could tell she's been doing this for a long time. She's got the skill. I mean, she's an expert. You can just see it. And so the orphan she goes in there and she's trying to ask her questions. And she's a mean girl. Y'all ever had a mean girl? Okay. Yeah, these mean girls, they exist. And immediately she starts telling her, I'm sorry, you can't do this. You could never be a ballerina. You can't have this, it's not for you. And so she goes back to the lady and she keeps practicing. And a couple days pass, and one day she's outside and the mailman comes. And it's a letter, it's an acceptance letter into the Paris Ballet for the mean girl. The orphan has the letter. And she took it for herself. She stole her identity. And she started the program. She got into the program, and you could tell she did not belong there. She sucked. She didn't know what first pose, none of the poses, she knew nothing. And so the instructor said, it's just a matter of time before we're gonna let you go. But after every practice session, somebody would get released, and it wasn't her. She would go back to the lady practice, she would come back, and she kept showing up with more and more passion every time, and you could just see the heart in her. Towards the end, she gets busted. Other girl finds out, you stole my identity. You stole my identity, you can't do this. But because she had put in the effort and she was showing up the way she was, the instructor said, you know what, it's a competition between the two of you, who's gonna be the prima ballerina? Yeah, it's about to get good. So obviously they're both practicing now, they're both like top, they're just hitting the top notes in a way. And one day they do a dance-off. While everybody else is busy, they start a dance-off competition between each other. They couldn't stand each other. And they're doing it, and they're both amazing at this point. They're making their way down the stairs, and the instructor stops them both. He stops the whole thing, and he says, I'm gonna ask you one question. And if you can answer this question, whoever can answer it the best will get prima ballerina. And he asked, why do you dance? The mean girl says, I dance because my mom tells me to. The orphan girl says, I dance because it's my passion, because it's what I love. Because growing up, all I can remember is my mother dancing, and I was always inspired by my mother. I've always wanted to be a ballerina. Moral of the story, passion and purpose will always outlast the competition. It doesn't matter how long somebody else appears to have been practicing. If their heart is not in it, if they're not doing it for the right reasons, it doesn't make a difference, right? So as you can imagine, that's not my origin story, but I relate a lot to that story. It's actually a storyline out of one of my favorite cartoon movies ever. And I relate to it so well because it's been hard, but I don't let that define me. I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And so if I can add value to your life today, and I can teach you that this skill alone right here, if you can develop this skill for yourself and add this as a financial engine to your business, it will be a total game changer for you. You know why? And I think it was addressed on the first day. I can't remember who was on the panel. You are your own best-selling asset. Your ability to scale comes down to how can I reduce my expenses as much as possible while increasing my revenue? That's what scaling is. How can I not expend all of my energy, time, and resources while producing as much money as I possibly can? And the best way to do that is to develop a skill like this that's going to help you in your sales and marketing in your business. And it doesn't matter if it's a smaller event or a bigger event. It doesn't matter if it's online or in person. It doesn't matter if you're doing it here in Miami or somewhere else in the world. It doesn't matter. Just that you're doing it and that you understand the value of this and how every single person can benefit from this skill right here. Cool? Any questions? Any questions? Any thoughts? What do you think about that story?
I knew the story. It's just, I couldn't think of the name.
What's the movie? Who guessed? Yeah, this is, yes, it is. It's Leap, the movie Leap. And when my inner child is like struggling with something because I've run into another mean girl, I'm in one of those situations, I just watch that movie and remind myself why I dance. Thank you.